Evening shoppers, we are out at Michelago Road, which is on the south side of Michelago, and if we look up ahead is a place called Iron Ore Park. These are two World War II era quarries, about 150,000 cubic meters of void space that a bloke called Blake Scarey is filling in, and this is this dodgy DA that council approved that none of the locals found out about until it's too late, and he's got lots of trucks bringing the dirt. We're going to drive Michalago Road now. I've just driven in. It's shockingly bad. So we're going to a couple of Ks. We're going to drive along, and you'll see we're in a Nissan Patrol with coil suspension. I'm not going to drive in all the potholes, but when I sort of drive around them, you can see that it's almost across the full width of the road. You've got to really dance around to miss them. And there's a couple of spots of road work, and I'm not sure who's doing the road work. Contractors are doing some of it. Burke's Plant Hire are doing a creek crossing, and someone's been putting a lot of dirt on the road, and there's no... Well, you can actually look at the wheel tracks where people are driving to avoid the potholes. They're crisscrossing the lane. Obviously the locals are pretty familiar with the holes are, but you can see the side of the road, it's just a rough grade of slop. It's dried out. In the wet, this would be pretty awful. Very slippery, and you wouldn't be able to tell. We haven't even got above 40 k's an hour yet. It's supposed to be a 100 kilometre an hour road. We're doing 45. It's also quite rough, quite rocky. Now there's a pretty rough patch coming up just here, and this has got 30, 40, 50 trucks, truck and trailers a day. Reduce the speed to conditions. Whatever's going on. But what's interesting is if anybody else does work, you've got to put up silt fences and hay bales to control. And if you look out there, all of the shit just runs off into the paddock. No silt fences, no hay bales, nothing. So if this is council, this is the council standard. Not only do they not do maintenance, but they don't do environmental control. So why can't we all do the good bit? Crossing almost to the wrong side of the road. K's an hour. Now we're in a Nissan Patrol with coil suspension, so it's a pretty comfortable vehicle, and it's built for these roads. But I reckon I'd wear the suspension out if I had to drive this every day. So you can understand why the locals are fed up. But now is another bit of roadworks with no signs, no fences, no warning, and there is clearly something to do with council, because on that witch's hat it says SMRC. So there's dodgy piece of shit witch's hat, and there's a scraping off on the side of the road. No silt fences, no hay bales, no controls, no warning signs, and then it tells you Infrastructure Investment Program Stimulus. Australian Government, Snowy Monaro Regional Council, like they're proud of this shit. Honestly, the size of these potholes just here in the front of us. I'll drive through this one, you can see. You ready? Imagine hitting that at night with a bit of rain. There you go, you can see the sign, CMSC, Cooma Monaro Shire Council, and we've got 40 k an hour limit. Actually, that's a really good example. So when the road grader grades, they drive the road graders off and they create these little gutter road, little diversions. Problem is, a lot of them, like that one, go uphill. So all they're doing is actually making a puddle, and it's in topsoil. See how the dark topsoil is exposed? So that's what's vulnerable and washes away, and that's not really going to conduct the water off the road. And you can see that it's clearly filled up, and then the water has actually run along the gutter on the side here, and you can see it's been quite muddy and there's a lot of topsoil mixed in there. So clearly that's not working. And the creek is only 10 metres over there. And when it floods, the water actually comes through this crossing. And so here's this creek crossing. And it's been built by contractors because we can see their Burke's plant hire little excavator. And no hay bales. This is a creek, this is a water catchment. No hay bales, no silt fences, no controls, just piles of topsoil that's been scooped up. Very, very humus. So basically a composting topsoil. There's a epoxy attempt at silt fence there, which I don't think that's really going to do much. And they've done a bit of digging and scraping around in this creek. And over on this side, you can see they've just basically created a bit of a dam which might trap some of the silt. There's a pipe over in there, buried. So the only thing that's really controlling the silt is actually the weeds, those reeds. There's two hay bales, and yep, there's a little hay bale there. So there's a couple of token hay bales, but this is now patches. So there's actually dirt just in front of the bumper bar. There's dirt being dropped in the potholes. So is that the quarry guy? Because the quarry guy, it's argued that the quarry bloke's trucks are doing a lot of the damage to the road here because there's a sheer number of trucks every day. And he's supposed to be responsible for maintenance of the road. And one of the questions is, what is he putting in the potholes? Is he licensed to fix potholes? Is he covered? Does he have insurance? And you can see that there's not really been any effort to fix all of this. This is pretty awful. And there's a good example of, there's a little bit of rubbish dumped in a pretty big pothole. That's a big one. If you go through that in the wet and you didn't know it was there, that'd give you a scare. There's just no structure. There's no proper drainage. The whole side of the road is effectively a wall of mud. I know it's a floodplain, but we've been building roads for a long time. The Romans were able to build roads 2,500 years ago. You can still drive on them. They go through swamps and floodplains. And there's one of the Burke plant hire excavators just doing the work. That's what they're doing, and they've, again, no hay bales, no silt fences, no warning signs, nothing. Just scrape it, make it look nice, let it run off into the farmer's paddock. I'll just do a video here. Pass me that for a second. What I'm talking about is all this here runs down that drain and runs into the farmer's paddock. No silt containment, no thought, just mess. It's something that would drive the locals quite mad, considering that they're supposed to be paying rates, and this is what they get. And it's definitely Snowy Monaro Regional Council, and the warning sign says Reduce SPE space D.
Can't even can see anything.
Hang on. We're parked, handbrakes on. Reduce SPE D. 50k an hour. Yeah, there we go.
No.
Good point. There's a range of letterboxes for people that live down this road. Each property paying, I don't know, circa 3,000 a year in rates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 30 grand in rates. So we'll pop this video up as a bit of a record. I think it's the 5th of December 2022. We've just come back to the Monaro Highway, and even it needs a little bit of love because it's full of potholes.